Alright, let's get into the zone. Welcome to the 1st and the 15th, hosted by myself, Damilare. And today we are going to be talking about the new equilibrium. Welcome back, Dichi family, to the Enclave. For those uninitiated, the 1st and the 15th is where I make videos every 1st of the month and 15th of the month on a part of my art exploration journey. Prior to this, I've been talking a lot about how artists can do this and why we should change and all of these other things, and there hasn't been yet, or I was reserving it for this, where we speak about the new equilibrium, or the equilibrium that will be in effect in the coming years, right? Like I said, everything is in flux now, but that is not going to mean that everything isn't going to settle by the time we reach the 30s. And we really need to take into consideration what we actually have at our disposal, how things are going to be, how I expect them to be, what we can probably see coming, but how we conduct ourselves is probably the most prominent thing, so that we don't otherwise continue on a system that is not necessary to be continuing. Because sometimes we give power to the wrong things and we get influenced ourselves, even when we're the influencers. So, you know what I'm saying, fam? So, what best way to find your people than to share what you truly believe in and stand on it? This is something that I'm standing on. For sure, ski. I just got off the top phone to Tiberius. And I was like, if this is what people do as a craft, if they're doing a craft, right, and they're doing it for the express purpose of making money and finding a function of making money, I believe that's fine. That is actually good on you, because creative endeavors can make you money. However, for that express purpose and express purpose alone does not make you an artist, because artists come with a purpose, artists come with a responsibility, artists come with a promise. What is that? We are the empathetic heartbeats of society. But one thing is the matter with some of us. Some of us don't know that rent is due. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about this, and I'm not going to let another second go by without getting into it. So yeah, as an artist, we have to respect ourselves, right? We have to respect where we came from. And it's our responsibility to be bastions of goodwill and hold in regards our peers and be conscious of our lot in life. We need to be faithful to our flock and understand that whether it's small or large, we can do this. We can understand our community. We can understand the people that are around us. Now, what I mean by our lot, it means the parcel of land, the parcel of creativity that we have been gifted, that we have been given in order to continue on this journey, in order to progress the area in which we are considered to be a part of. So yeah, as artists, we need to be faithful to our flock or community, right? And I believe we can do that, because artists have an incredible knack and we have incredible ingenuity, right? We have a knack for problem solving and we have a mind for ingenuity. And one of our greatest traits is empathy. But when we really build on and I assess the whole landscape of not just artists here, but artists across time as well, what the best spaces and places that they're in and thought process they have, it does come down to when they have great invention, a great understanding of ingenuity, a great understanding of integrity and their values. Like, us being able to be inventive means we can see the future. What I mean by see the future is we can see the destination way before many other people see it. And when we draw, when we create master plans, all of these other things, that is showing people the steps to get there. And that is what we can do. We can build the bridge to the steps so that people can be mobilized. And then we have the integrity, the how. And when I say the how, it's actually us caring. We have to care about the means of how we get to whatever we call our greatest successes are. And when I talk about ingenuity, that is the will to create, the will to be resourceful, and respecting ourselves regardless of whether we have lack or luck. And then value, so pertinent, being ourselves, being able to be of use, being able to be of value, to just be, and understanding that our compensation is not equal to our value. What people pay us, it is not equal. It isn't equal to anything. But namely, it is not equal to our value. Compensation is just compensation. That's the market going rate for the thing that you just created. That's all it is. And the last trait is value. What we are, who we be, right? Understanding that what we are isn't what we're paid. Just like a lot of people say today, I am not the thing that I do. Yes, I am not a painter solitarily. It is an artist that is a painter. The function I have in society is to create art. But yeah, we're going to separate the artist by the price of what the thing is that they're selling. And we must be a person of our community. In all of this, when we're talking about our communities, when we even use that word, when we understand our value and us being a vanguard to our locale, is understanding we're not trying to be idolized by any means. We're just a beacon for a message. That's all we are. And when we value the craft to the extent of mastery, great things can come from that. One of the things that I wanted to really bring to the forefront is talking about the return of the artisan class. We love an artist that is great at their craft. And what we need more of is the artisan. Is that person that will dedicate themselves to distinction of their craft. There is something to be said about a person who aligns themselves with greatness in a craft. Like we all know, like a sport, like for instance, people that are great at their sports are not just compensated handsomely, because that's one thing. People are in awe of some of these, personalities, because they're able to translate a level of authority onto a subject matter. So when someone has distinction in their craft, they are revered. But when it's an artist, we are an artisan. So we love people that align themselves with greatness in a craft, because we all know, right? It takes discipline, it takes time, it takes consistency. Genuinely, someone who is great and someone who's an artisan has a mind attuned to progress and cares about the process and where they're coming from. And there needs to be a focus on the artist that has distinction and dedication to their craft. So understanding that the crafts that we pick are important to our futures, because when we spend long times doing them and delivering them, we are showing a direct relation to our dedication and consistency. It shows people that we're committed to our purpose. So that means they may value what we say more, because it shows people the discipline that we have, the fortitude of mind, and understanding that we need to take a long time to do this thing, right? Like doing one painting in this style wouldn't have been enough. I needed to do a whole litany of them, a myriad of them, in order to display the full, breadth of the story. We may all be artists, but people who have distinction to a particular craft and a dedication to it will be approached differently than people who don't. It is a direct relation to your dedication and consistency. We have a commitment to purpose, and artists, as we all know, can be excellent craftspeople. We need to have the ability to master an area of expertise in a creative subject. Some of that aids us in enabling our level of self-worth to a degree, even though it shouldn't dictate it in its entirety. we should know that our value somewhat is aligned with what we can do with the skills at our disposal. So just to put it in perspective, when we are talking about compensating, when we're talking about greatness, when we talk about being great, this is not a matter of ego. It is a matter of dignity. Because when we master the practice, we master the ability to be able to live fruitfully and sustainably. Because it is a matter of dignity at this point that we find a way to be compensated for the work that we do. And a good start in that is to be an artisan. And there's this prevailing and pervasive thought process out here where it's to the effect of, oh, just because you're great at the craft doesn't mean that people are going to see you. Yes, there is something to be said about that. However, that is if we don't share what we're great at. And we're not talking about that. We're not talking about the person that doesn't share. We are, by matter of definition, when we create, we are making it to share and partly be compensated, but to be able to share the stories and to share the narratives and share our thought process and our philosophy and our theses. Somewhere, artists believe that the dignity is in asking for shillings from corporations, and sometimes the shillings are 400 million. Unfortunately, there are people that, think, oh, I got 400 M's. For you, that is a pittance, because you're probably valued much, much more. And other people, it's 5,000. It is still a pittance. There are a lot of people now, because of the starving artist myth, that they believe that we cannot survive without them. That we can't survive without the pittance that they offer, right? Or it can be £50, I don't care. But we know that our value should not be tied to a compensation. We are worth more than what people compensate us. The effect is the same. We sell ourselves off for a pittance. And this can be even through grants, when we do proposals for them, awards or sales. Like when we try to sell on these sites for a menial sum, it doesn't make sense. These old institutions and these gatekeepers, like some of them don't believe that we are self-sustaining people. And what does that mean? It means outside of them, we do not exist properly if they don't fund us. It is either they fund us or we wither away. Now, there are some places, there are some grants, there are some art prizes, there are some corporations even that are good at dealing in partnerships with artists. True partnerships at that. Not just profit sharing, partnerships. But there are other places and spaces, people who are just like them, that we have to differentiate from, which is something that we can talk about at a later date. But people who are just like them that genuinely believe we don't survive without them. And we need to be able to barricade ourselves, to fortify ourselves is a better word. So it's important for us to understand business and have a long-term sustainability. There's going to be a time where I'm going to be talking about retirement. How do you retire yourself? But yeah, we need to keep our integrity while making money, because how much integrity does a person have when they marry somebody who is funding their career as if it were a hobby, or if it were some sort of after school thing, some sort of, little personal pet project, And how much dignity does the artist have who does the bidding of the benefactor? We get compensated by our community because we offer them value in our representation, and we offer them value in our expression. And when we bring those things together, when we talk about being an artisan, and when we talk about sharing and having integrity, we talk about invention, ingenuity, value of self. The people that we come from and come from where we come from see that, and they want to participate in any way that they know how. So the people who love us understand that we are trying to create based on all of the things that makes us us, and most of that in those intersections comes from the community that supports us. Whether, and this is not just in the physical locale, even though it can start there, but it is the way that people think. The existence of this video and people watching it is based on how much people care and who I want to care. It is not, oh, let me make a viral video. If I was trying to make a viral video, I'll be doing something much, much different. If it was just about money, I would be doing something much, much different. We aren't people that are, suffering from mental health illnesses. You know what I mean? We are greater than that. Recently, I've been sharing my work a lot more, and there's been more people that have been asking me, where are my prints? Or can they buy the art? So on and so forth. It is only a matter of sharing that you're going to have those inquiries at some point in time. It may be few and far between, or maybe it's every single day. But those things can come to us if we do the work and we put it out there, because they feel that we are representing them. And that is my intention every single time I step out, is to represent the people who come from where I come from and really bring about the philosophy in any way possible. Of course, there's these videos that allow me to express myself in a long form format, but what we're speaking about and what I'm generating and the conversations that we're generating every single day is another layer of that. Because when we have these things, we have a level of character. We have a level of authority over our diction and articulation. And people love someone who is charismatic in that way. Someone who is great at communicating. Someone who expresses themselves and the pain points of the community with confidence, with diction, with articulation, and a thoughtful message. The marriage of the artist and the public thinker is what we need. Because this is what a public thinker can do, right? After we've ascertained what our personal philosophy actually is, we are able now to keep on that track, not just with the work that we create, and be actually steadfast and well attuned to that, but then we can look to the left and right of us while not being swayed by any whirlwinds that other artists will create. We just look at their energy, the momentum that they're gaining, and we say, that person's doing amazing. Being an excellent craftsperson while being able to really project your ideas out there is literally a matter of survival and evolution. And that is the space that we're taking it right now. So now we're putting together the artisan. And the person who's able to think, as well as the person who's able to cultivate, right? So putting together a marriage between the public thinker and craftsperson. So yeah, the cultivation in particular is being able to have a sustainable business model. There is the enclave, the insider baseball, artist to artist, us two talking to each other, thinking about what the other has said, or writing down and thinking while someone else is speaking, and how it generates new ideas for us and how to perceive what we're looking at. That is that. But then there is the technical analysis and understanding things in novel terms. That's to the people. And then there is the artist to the craft, and looking at another artist, or looking at ourselves, looking inwards and saying, this is how I want to be better at my craft in this coming time. And then there is the artist that can speak granularly about historical movements, and people that grasp the minutiae of the zeitgeist, common trends, and people that understand the niche trends as well. So they can look out and really express and explain what we're actually perceiving. And that is so valuable to certain artists, because sometimes there are those of us that don't understand what we're looking at, and it takes one of us to just express and share. Do you know what I mean? And some artists have the great gift of communicating on all three axes. Which are those three axes? As we spoke about, artist to artist, right? Artist to the public, right? And then artist to the craft. How we take and distill our philosophies, and then we put the right messaging in our creations. So we have artists that can connect the delta between them. So someone that uses novel sentiments, someone that uses the right axioms, the language that opens up the dialogue in a chit-chat manner, uncontrollably. In fact, this is what people call virality. That human being that is able to do that, generally, whether they're an artist or not, they are valuable. They are invaluable. And they should be made to speak on all matters that concern us and artistic rigor, right? The person that's able to do that regardless on a general basis, right, is invaluable. But the artist that's able to do that is invaluable to our community. It's invaluable to the enclave. They're invaluable to the public. And they're invaluable to the communities that each of us speak to. They're someone who is a practitioner, someone who knows how to speak on these matters in a convincing way, and they all concern artistic rigor. Now, we talk about, let's say, people who are in other fields. Let's say Neil deGrasse Tyson, for instance. He's a practitioner, he's a public thinker, and intellectual in his craft. So he's able to dissect it for the common person, for the lay person, for the person who's not thinking about astrophysics every single day. And that is who we are for these people sometimes. We need our public thinkers. We need our heralds. We need the people who are articulate, that can give critical and narrative analysis of other artists' theses. Because one thing I've always loved doing is being able to talk to the public about another artist's work and break it down within the context of their time. We need to be able to hold ourselves to account, so artist to artist, especially when it comes to being better or really living up to the thing that we said we're going to do. And then someone who has the artist's best interest, because who actually can have the best interest of the artist outside of another artist? So there was a great long period of time where I was doing that with Virgil Abloh's work. And now I get to do that, on a bigger scale, on a grander scale. Now there's those of us who are still in that competitive post-capitalistic mindset. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I'm talking about the genuine, authentic people that look at another artist and want the best for us. Painters' works, for instance, and other designers' works. But right now, of course, this is artist to artist. And people that are here probably know that already about me. Those things are important to us, and we should make them important to us. We need artistic rigor. It should be artists' best interests to have more of these people, because we know how to hold ourselves to account. We know how to be critical of one another, but some of us just don't say anything. So we need to show true rigor in our process and be agile in our thinking, using ingenuity and whatever is at our disposal to enact our theses. So we are mend parts that chip away and keep folding into these theses and giving them investment. You know what I'm saying? And then when we are able to press out all of the impurities, we keep working these theses. We work them until they are strong as Damascus steel, because they're all the impurities are folded out. And we have the soft metal mixed with the hard metal, the good times mixed with the bad times, all interwoven. We need our interlocutors, though, the people that are able to push us and our resolve in creativity. So when we're combining the three, moving forward, combining being able to speak, combining being an artisan, combining someone who really cares about the way that they're compensated so that they keep their integrity. See, these are the actions that we're taking, right? We get to call the shots. We get to be able to critique. And then we get to be able to master our craft to an artisanal level. Because before we were talking about things on a more, broader way. But now it's more understanding that each thing has its own level, right? So it's not just integrity, ingenuity, and inventiveness. This is truly understanding where crafts meets business, meets thinking, and putting them all together. And then this artist who is able to master their craft is allowed to be a free artist. And so many people support their existence because they're excellent craftspeople, aren't they? They master their craft. They are great thinkers, for good or for bad, right? They have thought intently about the subject matter that they're speaking about. And maybe not so much. Maybe even they're regurgitating what other people think. And then they've built a fortress, a business around, the way that they would like to be compensated for their philosophies. And that allows them to grow and expand. That can be used for bad and that can be used for good. Kanye falls into this category again. I don't want to keep bringing him up, but it's only to display the greatness that can happen when an artist runs according to being the empathetic heartbeat of society. So it's not about him, it's about what is possible when a him exists. But we need many people that are like that, not just one. So either in philosophy or their ability to do the craft, they create a visually appealing life and a message that can resonate. Even when harmful, artists can benefit economically and be bankrupt socially, communally, and everything to that effect. People who have dialogues in a novel, intriguing, and thought-provoking manner. They call the shots on how they create, and not only are they aspirational, they're free to us. And they are the most dangerous people in the community. They are free to the rest of us. These people are free to the rest of us. We should be able to combine the whole and be distinct within everything. Because the most dangerous in the community is a free artist. They're dangerous to the people who have nefarious interests. And whether you agree with them philosophically or not, the artist has the ability to mobilize community. Because enough people agree with their way of life. So they are so good at their craft, they built a fortress around them. Whether you agree with them or not, philosophically or not, they're able to mobilize because they have their situations they have their proper things in place. They have their community situated in a way where there's enough people that agree with them that they're able to build a fortress around their craft. And with that, they're able to have people that support their interests and support their existence. So we talk about people like Kanye that they can either be a benefit or a detriment to the community, right? But the person that we're talking about is able to display greatness. And I don't want to be stuck on the negative aspects. I want us to really harp on what can happen when an artist runs accordingly to the definition of being an empathetic heartbeat of society. Because whether it is in philosophy or it is in creating a visually appealing world, they have a message that can resonate, and whether it's harmful or not is not the point. Because generally we can benefit economically, but we can also be bankrupt socially. And that is one of the main problems. It's whether or not these artists create things that are valuable to people is really a matter of sometimes opinion, but other times it's a matter of critical thought. How much of what they're creating is a net positive for society, and we should be able to understand what we're putting in play when we see these things, right? But yeah, I see a shift though. I see a shift to changing the paradigms, and we have better social communications because of that. So I sincerely believe that artists don't think that there's a value in having an upstanding social message. But regardless, we need to be upstanding philosophically. The foundations, the fundamentals of philosophy. And I know I'm saying the word philosophy a lot of the time, and I think it would be a service to break that down. but just for the sake of this video, understand it as something that is a guiding principle that pushes the artist through life. We need to know how to be here for the long term, be something that people can invest in, and not fall towards the lowest common denominator, even when they're the people that are currently getting compensated the most. But I do understand, we do see in the media that the lowest common denominator gets like highly valued and it's highly touted when people are misfits, lawbreakers, or if they paint celebrities. That's my personal one. People that paint celebrities aren't really artists, they're craftspeople, or just that designation, because that isn't a philosophy of anything. They are just based in a sense, it's idol worship to me. I consider that idol worship. You painting celebrities for the plain and simple fact you just want money, or you just want followers, or you just want clout, and you are giving into people's algorithms and you're feeding what their thoughts are and their tropes. Like I even feel like that falls into that, being cross and bastardizing religion and genders. Is that sometimes we do understand we need to break the law, but not at the hindrance of our communities. And sometimes we need to say something that isn't in favor, but not at the hindrance of our integrity. Sometimes we need to take the money, but not at a hindrance to our philosophy. Sometimes we need to be promoted in the magazine, but not at a hindrance to our character. But the norm that we have currently is the corruptible mindset. And when that becomes the norm, people have these corruptible mindsets because they live an insidious lifestyle, and it is that capitalistic, more primal, post-colonial type of mindset, which is only I can be here, and what I'm doing and what I'm saying, it doesn't matter so long as I get paid for it. And we have this adage that we've adopted with Americans, really, saying, oh, don't mess with somebody else's bag, don't mess with somebody else's bag. I totally understand that people need to feed their families, but then they also need to have the right station, and they should be valued in the right circumstance, in terms of people do need to know what they've done, and they can reconcile for the bad things that they've done. However, when their art is also promoting like these dangerous messages, then there needs to be a little bit of a pullback in terms of how we actually value them, or there just needs to be a reassessment, right? Because what we're doing is we're holding people to account, but not at the detriment to their ability to create, because they will always be able to create, right? Especially if they're artists. But then when they're bankrupt socially, we also measure that, and we also weigh that in terms of how we're going to be supporting them, because people can have a dark past but also come back and really reconcile that and have a true palpable philosophy that is embellished and emboldened because they came from a dark place, and now they're returned to what socially we can consider a redemption arc. And the insidious lifestyle that entrenches itself like a fungus or weed that grows and lasts all seasons, and it's hard to uproot these things. And these weeds will always be weeds, right? But weeds aren't bad. I'm not saying the lowest common denominator is bad at all, and I'm not calling them a nuisance either. Weeds exist for a function and a purpose, but they do thrive in a place in a very hard times that we have right now, that there is a bunch of starving artists here. And like I've said prior, we're starving because of our own fault and partially because of society, but the lowest common denominator is the most pronounced. It's the most forthright. It's the most in our faces. But that's the powerful thing about being the lowest common denominator, right? You can survive and thrive under any circumstance. But what we do is understand that this paved path that these weeds grow on, we need to chip away at that paved path so that we can, unearth the nutrient rich soil that allows community to bloom. And we have a healthy relationship with artists that can be formed because the soil is now rich. Because just because it's paved, it just means that we've become callous to what integrity looks like. And there are modes, there are ways of blocking people that have real intentional messages that also value their ability to make money, and also value the people that they're creating their community from. But then when all of these paths are open, we can cultivate fruit that blooms, and we can store them in our silos for the collective benefit. And it allows community to bloom, be healthy with our relationships moving forward. And artists can open up this path and cultivate healthy fruits that we can store in our silos. So we are able to reap now from what we've sown in terms of integrity and philosophy, because every artist is a silo of their own crops. Because that's a self-insulating service when we're able to till the fields, sow the seeds, reap the rewards, get a harvest, store it in our silos, so that even if we come across a long winter, we're able to go into our reserves and understand that this is a business. There's a business side to our crafts, and there's also a mastery side to our crafts. You know what I mean? The artist silo. Every artist is a silo tending to their own crop. What does this mean? Our philosophies are what we plant, and they grow. They grow, and they create the product. These are the product of our philosophies. We say, okay, this is the product of all of my thoughts. Now, we bring it to the marketplace, and then we say, look, this is what I've created after but so long. And I hope you enjoy it just as much as I enjoyed creating it for you. And then we bring it to the marketplace to see how we can get compensated for it. We must harvest and reap. We put them in our silos, we collect them. We keep the collection of all of them. And then when we're ready, we bring them to the marketplace. But every artist is a silo. We are our own little silos, our own little spaces where we have our people and we have ourselves that we communicate with them. And when we have communicated enough and we understand ourselves enough and what we want to do enough, then we go to the marketplace. This is a business. There's a business side to our crafts, and there's also a mastery side to our crafts. You know what I mean? So these crops are the ideas, and the harvest are the products that we came out with after a long time cultivating concepts. We release our products and produce to the public. And because we've done it for so long, we've cultivated these philosophies so long, they're healthy to our minds and to the community that we have centered. And our practices are built properly, where we can be able to be compensated with these products. So it is important still that we do cultivate the right stores in the marketplace and be where the right audience is for where we need to sell what we have. So if you have mangoes and mangoes grow in everybody's back garden, you don't necessarily need to give those people the mangoes, but you can go to another locale and give these people this either exotic, foreign, created thing that is, a delicacy now. It's a delicacy because they don't see it often. That's your niche. That's your ability to be profound and be able to express yourself in your particular way. So we can last whatever storm or winter we have when we exist like this, just like the weeds, because the weeds are always going to be there. Weeds will always be there. But so shall we when we create and cultivate properly. Because when artists can communicate with the zeitgeist and we have a subject matter that we value intimately, and we also have a communal centered mind, we can use our abilities to spark discourse. And it's in my dearest belief that we can share in positive change that lasts decades. So artistic rigor genuinely needs to be a thing. Artists need to be better at cross-pollinating, because we don't generally need collaborations that lead nowhere. We need artists to think together. A mind with a philosophy meets another mind with a philosophy. Having our sentiments that align, we can become a satellite that transmits a message, a beacon for other artists and transmitters of their own messages for their people. So we can steal our ideas together as artists. We can fold out the impurities even faster and better, and becoming hard as Damascus still. And in all honesty, away from all of the grandiosity of it all, who else would you rather be around? And someone that can aid in me doing that. Not just that I find it fun, but it's healthy. Those are the healthiest relationships that we can have. And once an artist ruminates on something and we give it a gestation period, then that is not just more fun. That is how we build long term, because we're able to be in multiple places at once, and we know our philosophies aren't alone in some sort of, barren wasteland. They are being cultivated alongside other great philosophies that work with ours. And I get it with artists and community, because community is a word now that is really just being used willy-nilly, and it's thrown about here and there and all of these other things. But a lot of us are quite insular, and I get it. I get us wanting to be insular, and I get us wanting to be introverted with our personalities. Just post, interact with no one, let the work do the talking, right? And so many of us have our little family and affiliates that we work with, people who love us and want to buy from us. So it's not like we're doing anything wrong in doing that. We're doing pretty much what is said, or how I feel we should go forward. But artists need to develop community the same way people in academia develop community. So we need to be the communities the same way that academics have communities. So academics are familiar with the names in their fields, and we need to be familiar with the names in our fields. So when we have two silos or artistic communities working together, we can create a networking effect. A Londoner can be working with a Mani artist, for instance, and the spaces can coincide and expand with one another. I know that artists are cliquey, and in academia they're very competitive. There is a need and a thirst to be first. But I'm of the belief, especially as a black artist, as an African artist, abstract contemporary art, we're doing African art, and we know what people mean by that. African art is not a thing, though. I just need to say that. It's not a thing. It's not a style of creation. That there's no need to be the first to do something. That is just another insidious and unwilling sentiment that I'm actually not going to abide by. And one of the main reasons because of that is that the first shouldn't be celebrated in that way if it was a real achievement. But if someone is the first to show at the Met, the first black African artist to show at the Met, then that is a problem that we have. But that is the system working as it's supposed to. And once a person's PhD is established, it becomes a standard. So then now it's just like a viral wave. So let's say they do abstract contemporary art, for instance. It obviously, people will be working with different philosophies based on that, but it's of a similar kind. And you can understand how someone gets to their point. So long as there's integrity, there's principles involved, there's a philosophy involved, you understand the depth of what they're doing, then we're able to actually see the articulation within the work, right? So if they're doing now abstract and contemporary African art, and this is the other thing though, academics, they are also very competitive, and openly so as well, because there's a thirst for being first. But one thing that they do fruitfully in academia is when someone has a thesis that has been established after years and years of rigor, it becomes a standard in the community. So just like where people have established what surrealism is, and people work as Dali, and some people understand what collage is, and they work like Basquiat and do all of these things. Most of these are pastiche renditions, and they're like, bourgeois sentiments. But alas, this is what happens. But it is okay to be inspired and motivated by another artist. There are so many people. Let me get on one knee. There are so many people that don't want to be motivated by another artist. They actually think life is better, life is easier if they're not motivated by another artist. They couldn't be any more wrong even if they tried. Because we have these people say, oh, I don't want to be in competition. But then you also don't want to look at somebody else's work. Why? Because you said you don't want to be inspired by anybody else. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? And then, we all say, oh, there's nothing new under the sun. So then what would be the harm? What would be the harm? But, we have these people that say in our community, I'm not in competition with anybody. But then you're not going to look at the next person's work that if they're not in your little clique. Come on, man. Especially if it's close to yours. Because this is the thing, right? If you truly believed your work to be valuable or original, or if you even truly believed that there's no work that's original, that should not stop you from looking at somebody else's work. I can tell you, as somebody that actually focuses and studies intimately on the whole artistic field, and this is including fashion, including animation, including all of these areas of expertise, right? I create in a way that I want to create regardless of this, as a testament. Maybe you can find someone that creates as a Gigi, but fairs, if you do find someone, fairs. I'm not saying that it's original, I'm saying that it's mine, and my mind is also mine. So I know that I'm not copying people, at least intentionally or willingly. But we do need to understand there's a way to cross-pollinate between these ideas, just as PhD students in their particular fields. And seeing the people that are living in the time that you're living in, knowing that you're not alone. Isn't that what we're doing some of this for? We're ensuring that we're doing it because we're not alone. And there's cross-pollination between these PhD students, and they cross-pollinate their two philosophies just like we would. And two artists exploring borderless principles like fair treatment of people and the freedom of a subjugated class. And we get to have a discourse between the two parties. So a man from London can fly to Osaka, Shenzhen, and then discover what they do. Just like when I once went to Paris and I saw how people mobilize for the cause, and you see how they protest, and the workers' unions also protest, and the people are with them because they believe in what they believe, which is they need fair treatment. They need someone to be there to look after them, and that's what community is made for. And that's how I did it with Africans in Ukraine. I worked with a community of people that was able to aid me in spreading a message along, and I was also able to connect with people on the ground to get them across the borders. All of that doesn't happen with the right people doing the right things at the right time. We're not alone in the missions that we have, especially when they're huge and they go across whatever political affiliations people have. But yeah, each artist is a silo, a storehouse for self-sustenance and community enrichment, shipping out their philosophies in a product that displays their commitment not only to their community, but by representing them with their craft, by becoming a master in their field of study. And each silo is an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to collaborate, an opportunity to expand the enclave territories. And what I would have, the Dichi family. Do you get it? We are surrounded. It's hard to grow. And we don't communicate. We legit need to pick a struggle. We actually need to pick a struggle. Pick a struggle. Do you get it? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we have these sentiments and understanding that, you can do what you want with your life. But if we understand that, art is a responsibility, and artists are champions of the people, and we exist regardless of the space and time that we're in. So it's not just some sort of job that comes about because institution and capitalism or a cushy life has allowed it to exist. We understand that we exist regardless of whether times are good or times are bad. Then we understand that not just no man is an island, but no artist is a loner. But also no artist is a loner. It takes massive communities to help champion us, and we do our best to express what their thoughts and feelings are. And a great disciplined mind can have a long lasting and sustainable career. But we have to be inspired by each other. We can be inspired by each other's efforts. It's not just looking back to Guernica. There are artists in today's day and age that have aided in our betterment. Shout out to our way, bro. But there are a lot of people that are like, all my heroes are dead. Who can we be inspired by apart from each other? I personally believe there are no true role models left aside from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But that doesn't mean that I can't be inspired by someone's good work. And you see that inspiring energy of someone fulfilling their purpose. You look past the innate competition, that dog eat dog mentality, the capitalistic insidious instincts that we have, that we're actually generally forced to inherit, and we understand it's unnatural, and that is why we're unrest, and the mentality will cause a disease, and we need a reparations of our mindsets in these aspects, because art is an institution. It is the original institution. It is a foundational institution. Not like all the other institutions, art is a social standard. Artists themselves are the heralds of the so-called proletariat today. But image makers all throughout time have been used for education, have been used for hunting, economics, religion, and there has been some good that people have done with the crafts that we have at our disposal, especially within image making. But religious institutions and wealthy benefactors have co-opted art today for their nefarious purposes and religious idolatry. Now, today, art is used for corporations and the 0.00001%, and it's probably a lot more than that if we're going to be fair, right? To be beside artists and engage in our energy. They want to engage in our energy, and they want their organization to be affiliated with someone that is considered the people's champion. They work with artists. Cool. I don't mind that. But then the people, this is the trick that is played, this is the propaganda that is played, is affiliating the corporation with doing something extra valuable because they have an artist in their roster that delivers something. That doesn't make sense. The artist done work and the artist is valuable. That does not mean that the corporation is of equal value. Do you know what I mean? And outside of secularism, artists bring power to the people, co-opted or not. So the greatest of us are heralded in this way, and we are vessels that are filled by our communities and we pour back into them. The most fundamental of synergistic relationships. So how we understand institutions and spaces that are built after, borders are erected. Art as an institution lives without these borders. We are culture. We are an ecosystem. Our ideas germinate, cross-pollinate, and hybridize. So we are the origins of culture regardless of a border. What is culture though? Or cultura? We are the true origins of cultura, which is the concept that encompasses the social behavior of institutions, norms found in human societies, as well as the knowledge, belief that the arts, laws, customs, capabilities, attitudes, and habits of the individuals in these groups. So art is a process of culture and society. It is the institution that transmits and permeates time and space, connecting the past to the present. So regardless of whatever time and space that we're in, we truly are what culture means. We now can understand, right, that these people have been using our cultures to really put us back into a tribalist mentality, because they believe that these borders are things that we're supposed to be representing, when in reality we're representing a people. We're representing the people. We're representing man itself, not some country or border that was erected, sometimes arbitrarily. We can look at Africa, for instance, for that. So when we now lead, when we choose to be part of the leaderships, the thought leaderships, we understand where the world is going, politically, socially, economically. We understand that we are and we can be the multipolar collectives. We show love to one another regardless of what is out there. This is why we need a different way of defining what we understand today, because we have inherited so much and the public have been giving us so much, and there's been so much public outcry. And one thing that we can give back is helping them understand, aiding their understanding of what a multipolar collective actually is. Living without borders, actually being boundless. Do you know what I mean? The artists that lead the way, taken from the understanding of decentralized mechanisms. The new artist system and framework is built off of artists building our own silos and connecting them with one another, and those creative networks delivering on outreach and developing our own rapport. And how do we build up on the thesis of bettering our communities? We discover what that promise is. And what is a promise? Artists are the empathetic heartbeat of society. So artists like to lead the way. We take from the understanding of a decentralized mechanism and we create the new artist system. And our framework is built off of building our own silos. Silo is the business, much like in academia and the PhD, they talk to one another. The creative satellites talk to one another when we collaborate. And the satellite is a beacon, and when it's observed by another artist in a different locale, it creates an interconnected network of satellites where we work with one another. And the interconnected satellites or creative network becomes what is a principality or municipality, with all the artists in their interconnected networks pursuing the same philosophical or principled ends or adjacent progression of society. We're able to push it forward. So everyone that is following the same thought process of how we are able to push society forward works together in this network of satellites over these borders. And we connect different principalities and service areas. We deliver a path for the future generations, and we ride it on scale and reinforce it. This is our decentralized network. We make it our responsibility to build a network of no borders and no barriers. Then we're able to push it forward because we're all working towards the same means on a horizontal plane, holding the line and pushing the line, gaining ground, gaining territory, expanding the enclave, and creating what is a new philosophy, a new understanding within the zeitgeist, a new nomenclature. So we build the bridges over the borders that they create, connecting the principalities and the service areas. We deliver a path of the future for the generations to come. This is our decentralized network, being the first of our kind to elevate the rudimentary efforts of the past and create a valiant one. So when we think about the American-Japanese network that came together through colonization and subjugation and oppression, as well as pillaging, and the artists they were able to supersede that and look past that. And we, just like we were talking about before, where we say we understand that there's people that have a past, but then we can, move past that past, and then these people have given us the greatest hip-hop exchange that we've seen, right? So America shared hip-hop, Japanese people shared craft. They were able to create the Great American Highway, or the hip-hop highway, the great hip-hop exchange, as I like to say. And they have had Japanese artists sailing along that bridge and American artists soaring over that bridge, creating even better and better work over the years to come. And now we have people wanting to go to Shinjuku, wanting to go Harajuku, and their love of, consumerism to an extent, but also their love of craft permeated through that hip-hop culture and that hip-hop exchange. And it birthed what the cross-pollination, the original bridge of streetwear. So these dynamic parties can work with one another in America and Japan to create something beautiful. So even after so much toil and stress and strife has gone on, we create something great. And this is what it's all about, right? But then there's also the other ones, right? So the Antwerp 6, the Belgian satellite, they were working together promoting one. And these dynamic parties work with one another. And then, if we're going to go on the fashion train, we also understand the Antwerp 6, and where they were opportunity met preparation. They were able to be branded as the way that they were. Then we have Tom Ford putting together lifestyle and luxury, starting the reign of the conglomerates, mind. And then we can talk about Tom Ford putting together what we know now as a new luxury system. How they get a great designer with a true vision, put them at the helm. Sometimes they're a phenomenal artist, and they have a philosophy that they want to enact. And when they enact that philosophy, now they siphon off the whole community that person is representing. And then they make their company even bigger. And when that person leaves, the hearts and minds of the people still yearn for that company. That is that level of affiliation. And then the punks and the goths, when they put together fashion, lifestyle, music, followed by hip-hop, of course, Hollywood cinema, putting together lifestyle marketing, creating the celebrity, and then Bollywood and Nollywood, putting together ingenuity, culture to refine and redefine what a genre is. And then one of my personal favorites, the South African Ubuntu. But then we understand what Bauhaus did in terms of design thinking and thoughtfulness, and creating what we can consider today as product design, and the whole industry that birthed many jobs, from graphic design to advertising, furniture design. It made these industries stable, and we have an opportunity to refine all that we have learned from these guys and distill it, understand them, and create a cohesive thesis that intertwines everything. And we can build something that way supersedes the local scale. So we can build something that, as much as Bollywood is valuable to that locale, and Nollywood is valuable, Hollywood is valuable, the schools of arts are valuable, the real institution that we need to be creating, cultivating, and honoring is the artists themselves, and being able to work with one another and build that interconnected society that doesn't look down upon the individual in a particular locale just because they're from that locale. We have the opportunity. So when we think about us being a decentralized global institution, and we listen and look at what society is telling us, we know that we are in a post-nationalist world. Because what is national identity? It is saying, I am from this plot of land, with these people. And what is cultural identity? It says, I am from these people, and wherever I am in the world, I bring them with me. So, the Californian artists, when performing in London, they are saying, listen, I've had my culture for this whole time. I've been able to use my ingenuity and cultivate a fan base, and now my fan base has reached all the way across the waters, and now I'm performing here. The artist, the painter, who has a thesis, they're able to say, yo, I'm going to show here, I'm going to show here, and I love the institution that helped me understand how to think, as in a university, but superseding that, expanding that, they are not bringing with them, they are not bringing with them Harvard. They are bringing with them the people who inspire the way that they paint. They don't paint because of education from an institution that is considered inside a border. They are painting for people that they want to help outreach so that they can spread a message and awareness of that people. How does this help though? How does everything that I'm saying help? Everything that I'm preaching right now, because I know I'm preaching, how does that help? I want us to translate is understanding that it enables us to bring our people with us and not be transfixed by the borders. It is the progression. The progression is the country where our people are can be anywhere, because you bring your message along brings together their sensibilities, and they can expand and they can think, yo, if someone from my locale has been to that place, then I can go to that place. Because I think where we missed the boat is that plot of land that belongs to us, it belongs to a governing body. So long after we're gone, it can possibly be owned by them as well. And, you know, some of us are making ends to ensure that it doesn't work that way. But as of right now, regardless of who governs a land, that should not be concerned by the people who create for the people. The success that our people can have based on the work that we do can show them that there is a space outside of their local subjugation that they can be committed to and they can expand to, because someone from their locale is accepted in the broader society. And of course, an artist is a champion that people accept, and based on their very, very high tolerance and availability to those people. But when we're talking about living outside of where we think we're supposed to stay, and when we think bigger than that, then our dreams can live even when they're local ones. They can live outside of the place that we've built a cage for ourselves. There's so many people, there's so many of us that have built a cage inside our local area because we have been subjugated to that extent. But that isn't necessary for us to do, because some of us suffer from those tribal identities and we attack those from that suffering, from that trauma, when they don't come from that plot of land. And these things should not be valued as such. These things such as land, plots of land, all of these things, like, we need to assert proper value in places where it's necessary. And one of those is not, oh, the people that come from where I come from, you know, I don't know, a country town in Idaho. So those are my people forever and ever, amen. Or, you know what I mean? It's really about, yo, I can leave Idaho, and the people that are like me, that are with me from Idaho, I can aid in their, you know, expansion. I can aid in the thought leadership that comes from there. The way that I've learned, the way that I've gathered information, I represent them in a way. And I think that can be a positive effect for not just the people of Idaho that come from where we come from, but for the people that are just like us in another locale. And those people, they don't need to miss the boat. They don't need to miss the boat, because that country, that plot of land, we don't necessarily own that. We can own the building, but they're not going to let us own ourselves and our futures. We have to take that back for ourselves. That governing body does not value us the way that it should. But our successes, especially as artists, can transcend those borders. And you can think that, these universities, these institutions, their interest is involved in artists, but they understand that we can be greater than them because they care about our social footprint outside of our local area. They care about what we do on these social networks, on these social platforms, how we get, social proof from different places, distinguished countries, and other artists from different locales. So we know that they appreciate, just as well as we should be appreciating, us expanding the territories that our names can be spoken about in. Because the people that can aid us in being great and delivering our magnum opus, they are where we belong. Just like, and the rooms that our voices can be inside, but even when we're not there, just our names being spoken in those rooms is a sign of validation to those people. So the people that we represent can aid in us being great, and the people, the artists specifically that we work with, when we talk about satellites, when we talk about silos, when we talk about creative networks and multipolar collectives, they can help us deliver our magnum opus. Those people there, in whichever locale, are where we belong. And not look at it as just some sort of vanity metric. It is truly being ourselves outside and actually gathering who will be the people that we call community and knowing that they are everywhere. And the multipolar society that we're going to be living in quite soon. Actually, it is here now, but it is incumbent on us to really create that society and show the new way of life we can actually have when society is genuinely multipolar and it's not just this one superpower subjugating all other places. And it is more reason for us to explore, us to go outside, us to touch grass and learn from other cultures, learn from other people and pick up what we need to do. We need to understand that we are boundless and decentralized. It is a necessary that to be organized regardless of our culture signifiers. And there is a necessity for us to be organized regardless of the cultural signifiers. This is the power of community. It's a good start to our own local community, who we represent, and the cultural intersection that we occupy. Such as myself, I can say that I'm someone who came from London. I was educated, in multiple different areas with multiple different class segmentations throughout England. And then England and Wales, so Great Britain. And then I learned from my people and my community, and I learned of the people that are around here as well. That's an intersection. And then I'm also African. It's another intersection. And I'm also Nigerian. That's another intersection. And all of these intersections can make up myself, but I can also represent parts of these intersections because they are from where I'm from and they understand the style of education that I've had, and also they value knowing that where I am situated in the context of my time, it makes sense to them, and they value what I have to say according to that. And we are committed to our communities because that is where we herald our power from. They fuel us by being themselves, that bus driver, that nurse, that accountant, that footballer, those producers, that retail worker, all of them, that longshoreman, them long haul truckers. Do you get it? And there is this understanding that we need that power of community and we have that authority. And many people don't want to be called artists because of the way that artists are spoken about and how people talk on us. And it is on us to embrace the responsibility of the title regardless. So we don't wear it in a lackadaisical, unserious manner when we call each other artists. We don't want to take away the meaning that we're putting on there now and take away the power from there. We don't want to be unserious about it. We want to destroy the corrosive language that is around it, that corrodes the minds of people that are around us, and the terminal language lexicon that surrounds artists. Starving artists, lazy artists, writer's block, creative block, mental illness, ADHD. We get the picture, right? Using our acceptance and our open-mindedness as a weapon to call us ne'er-do-wells, vagabonds, or vagrants. Come on, man. Char. Anyway, and we have a necessity to build a new language matrix to ensure that it permeates throughout the zeitgeist and it gets normalized in society. So when we build these new nomenclatures, these new standards, these new expectations, we have a new language that defines artists. So we can accept that we're in a multipolar society, and this is what artists mean when we talk about integrity, when we talk about ingenuity, when we actually deliver what is great from us. Sure, man. We can really put those definitions on there if we really live like that. Because we're about that. Most of us are genuinely about that. And even if you're not, you know someone and you champion those that are. It defines community, it defines culture. And when we think about artists and when they think about artists, we're talking about people that understand it as an institution. And we are not just an appendage to be forgotten or mismanaged. We create what we are and we call it for us, by us. Artists are the empathetic heartbeat of society, and we conduct a better lifestyle, leading with empathy, pumping energy throughout the central nervous system. Your value and your compensation are different when we are able to do that. But our value is much, much more than all of that they're compensating us with. So we need to know how much we value ourselves and know that it's not equal to what people are paying us. Because it stops being about, oh, this artist gets paid X amount, therefore they're valued this much. No, this artist is valued because they live like that. They're about what they believe. And then they get compensated based on the work that they deliver to a certain type of community or even to the broader, wider community. But that does not mean that one artist is more valued over the other. Don't let them trick us on these aspects. They are really trying to create a terminal language that if you're not getting paid a super unconscionable amount, then you're not really an artist. You're not really valuable like that. The artist that gets paid the most is not the most valuable most times. At least today, in these past 30 years, it has been shown that. But yeah, we need to find a way. I understand that we have untapped potential in this world. And a system of governance is remedial. It is actually remedial in the face of a creative mind, because we know we always find a way. We need to find that way. We need to understand ourselves. We need to understand what it means, right? Like, we need to understand an artist is someone who runs on philosophy and stands on principle and welcomes being held to a standard. The person who believes in their craft and is dedicated to displaying a distinction of an artisanal kind. And the person who acknowledges their life's work must be self-sustaining for integrity's sake. So we're not reliant on the people who think that we're going to sell our integrity for a pittance. And the same person that is a person of the silos and the satellites and the networks that we are, an institution of people that expands the enclave. We can aid in wielding a decisive power for positive and constructive change, for the betterment of people and for the betterment of their minds. We are the boundless institution. Thank you. that is where I'm going to end it. Thank you very much. I daily appreciate it. I appreciate anyone who makes it this far. I genuinely appreciate it. One thing that is about this is that there is so much weight to the words that I've said over the past month now, that it really impacts me when I'm making these videos. And I can't wait to show you more of my painting and share how intentional it is, really. How intentional what I'm doing actually is, because when I say I'm an artist, when I say I'm a painter, I know it means something to other people when I say that. And we not only change the perception by speaking up and out, but we also invoke certain things within us when we speak up and out about it. And I want us as artists to value integrity, and if nobody else does, it's what I'm going to do, right? It's what I would, consistently say about my career path, about the value that I would have in society, or I aspire to have in society. We can work together. I need to know who is listening and what they are listening for, because genuinely I care, and I want to know you guys better, because you guys understand that rent is due for me all the time. And you know that I don't take this for granted. I don't take time for granted. I don't take any of this for granted. It's thank you for everybody that is standing with me and standing beside me. I'll do my best. I will forever do my best to make sure that the things I'm creating are valuable to our community, because we all know rent is due. And this isn't about artists alone. It is about the community. It's about the people that we represent. We represent the people. When I say I'm an artist, when I say I'm a painter, I know it means something to other people when I say that. And we not only change the perception by speaking up and out, but we also invoke certain things within us when we speak up and out about it. And I want us as artists to value integrity, and if nobody else does, it's what I'm going to do, right? It's what I would, consistently say about my career path, about the value that I would have in society, or I aspire to have in society. And when I participate in this thing of ours with my community, with the people that come from where I come from in my intersection, or the people that aren't from my intersection but find it valid and valuable, all of those things to me are the necessities that aid in our betterment. And I'm understanding even deeper my philosophies. So I'm just appreciative of all the people that are accepting of these things, and moving forward know that there's a level of growth that can be sustainable. And I know for sure that people would be like, yo, why didn't you always say this? One, I didn't have the words back then. And two, now, when no one is looking, is the best time to do it, because I can be who I always was supposed to be. So instead of doing, all of the fashion videos and all of the art videos and all of the critique videos, now I have the foundation, the fundamentals. What is that? Understanding artists are the empathetic heartbeat of society. That is my first statement in this new world, in the new equilibrium, and I appreciate that so much. So once again, I thank you. Always remember that rent is due. Do not forget that what we do is we build cultures, we aid in the development of cultures, I should say, and we display who the people of our society and our locale are, and we can be rewarded for that while upholding our integrity, while upholding, the greatest things about our society. We just have to be honest with ourselves, honest with the people, and value them just like they should be valuing us. And long term, we can reap the rewards of such. And let us be the greatness that we purport to be. Let us create the boundless institution. Let us understand we can expand the enclave. Let us understand that we can work with integrity. But yes, I hope everybody has a phenomenal day. I appreciate everything. And yeah, this has been another First and the 15th. I've been Damilare. Thank you to the Dici family. This is the Enclave. Let's get it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. And I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody for sharing, for liking, for subbing, and for watching, even if it's just 1 minute. I appreciate you guys, man. Have a good one.